Hi, I'm current Spicefreak Sloss, and this is my friend Megan, who doesn't want to go by any more name than that.
And we have just gone to go see the new Sonic film, which is just titled Sonic the Hedgehog. Also the title of the 2006 game and the 1991 game, but this is the 2020 movie that we've just seen.
Was there another Sonic the Hedgehog to go with Sonic 4, or was that just Sonic 4?
I think it was called Sonic 4. But
Okay.
that is a conversation for a very different day.
Yep, because today we're reviewing the movie, and we're doing so with some chili cheese dogs. Prepared specially. As you can see, we also have some blue slushies, because I thought it fitting.
So I think we should start just by giving general impressions on the film, and then we can have a deep dive into Sonic lore.
I was thinking first start with, what were you expecting or hoping for going into this?
To be honest, my expectations were not really existent. I watched the first trailer, which everyone hated except for Jim Carrey.
Yeah, he was good.
We all expected it was going to be a situation of do not watch the film, just watch the YouTube compilation of Jim Carrey moments in it.
Yeah, I wasn't as put off by the original model of Sonic as most people seem to have been, but it still wasn't great.
But as we know, so that trailer came out back in April. Everyone hated it. In May they announced we're gonna redo it, and so then a couple of months ago they revealed this new design, which everyone agreed, even if not great, is better. So in terms of my expectations, the trailers really did not endear me to this. It just seemed like a standard American small town comedy film with predictable jokes and quite lowest common denominator. In the second trailer, when they showed Green Hill Zone, that did actually look quite good. I just didn't have any expectations for this film. But this morning when I was on Twitter, I was hearing that apparently the Rotten Tomatoes score was not good, but above Rise of Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker was pretty meh. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't a great film either.
This is reviewing a different movie now.
Yeah.
I'll give my opinion on it because we're on that now. It was pretty meh. I didn't hate it as much as half of the internet. I should probably have some hot dog now. I'll let you talk about your expectations.
So, for me, there are three things that Sonic does really well consistently. The cheesy rock soundtrack, which has become a bit more rapish in modern years, but I have no issue with that. Fast-paced, ridiculously over-the-top action sequences that are entirely scripted. And also just general snarkiness. This movie, as far as I was concerned, was a chance for them to have all three without the bad modern gameplay. Whether they were going to manage that or not, I had no idea. But honestly, my expectations got a little lower when I saw the new version of the trailer, just because the new design of Sonic looked a lot younger and more childish than the previous design, the initial one. So despite being a better design, it implied that it was going to target more of a younger audience.
Keep going.
Well, that was most of what I was going to say, other than that Jim Carrey was very entertaining throughout all the trailers, and consistently the best bit.
So, in terms of what I actually thought about the film, it was kind of what I expected it to be, but towards the upper range. The writing was reasonably sharp. There wasn't really any moments where I was thrown in at the quality of the writing of it. There was some reasonably clever and witty moments. I think another thing which kind of carried the film was the acting was quite strong. Especially, we all knew Jim Carrey was... How do you even pronounce his name? He was going to carry the film, and he did. The guy who played Tom, he had a reasonable stage presence. The guy who voiced Sonic, when he first came in, it seemed like he had too much of a New York accent, but then I kind of got used to it, and I think it was okay. When Sonic was kind of making wisecracks, when it came to the more emotional parts of the film, it was But in terms of the acting, I think they did carry the script pretty well. Another thing which worked in the film's favour most of the time was it wasn't a very long film. I don't actually know what the runtime is, but it's well under 2 hours, if not closer to 90 minutes. And it had a pretty snappy pacing, especially the start of the film. It didn't take forever for Sonic to get off Green Hill. That actually happened in the first scene. And then Robotnik coming in was like pretty fast. All that stuff, I didn't feel like there was necessarily a point in the film where I was really waiting for the next thing to happen. So good pacing. Like
Yeah.
I didn't really feel bored at any point.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of more professional reviews from well-known reviewers, and one of the things they complained about was that the character drama between Sonic and Tom in the middle of the movie seemed to come out of nowhere to them and didn't really stick around for very long. Personally, I felt not dwelling on that worked quite well for the film. And the fact that it just sort of came up again to be resolved towards the end was nice.
It seems like every mainstream film has to have some kind of dumb conflict and then moping and then the resolution of it, you know, but it didn't feel like too grown-worthy in this film. It was probably one of the less bad versions of that Hollywood trope that I've seen.
I didn't have quite as much of the sort of fast-paced, long racing sections that I'd hoped for, but it had plenty of other stuff going for it.
I think one thing which did surprise me a bit about the film is like, a lot of it didn't actually use Sonic's speed. A lot of it was just like, you know, this kind of road trip.
Yeah.
It's kind of a slightly strange concept for a Sonic film to go on a road trip when it's established that he can literally run to the sea and back in like a second.
Initially, it's justified by the fact that he can't move properly because he's been shot with a tranquilizer dart. And then later with he has no sense of direction in America because why would he? He's only ever lived in one town.
Even if he's just been living in this one town for his entire life, like, it's obvious that he knows like a hell of a lot of pop culture references. Like, you should at least show him trying to use a map to get where he's going.
Yeah, if you can overlook that, it's a good road trip. Broken up a lot by just random Sonic antics.
Also that kind of strange scene in that kind of like bar.
Yeah, they stop at a gas station, it's connected to a bar, and he just sees a bunch of, I think they're supposed to be Hell's Angels, but we never get a good look at the branding on their jackets. And Sonic decides he likes biker gangs and wants to get in a bar fight, and it's like, what?
That scene was kind of entertaining, but I guess it was there to build up like the friendship between Sonic and Tom. It did kind of feel like a bit of a slow moment in the second act of the movie. Let's talk about Eggman in this film.
I am the Eggman. They are the Eggman. I am the walrus.
What are your thoughts on him?
Mouthful.
Okay, I'll talk first. Jim Carrey was very, very good in this film. I mean, I can't... What has he even been in like recent years? I checked it on Wikipedia earlier. It's nothing which I personally have heard of.
The last thing he was in was for his talent rather than for his talent and also he's a retro face, as far as I can tell, is A Series of Unfortunate Events, the
Which was
2004
16
version.
years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't a particularly memorable film, but I will never forget the trailer, and it's just perfect starring
Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey.
The context of that is like the main characters are 3 kids. You can't really have those as long as like your star, and then there's Count Olaf.
He's sort of an actor, he's more of a theatre guy, but it makes sense in the film that he takes on numerous roles, and therefore, by virtue of that, Jim Carrey takes on numerous roles.
We should dig up a clip of that for this review. Like,
I'll try.
If we can find the trailer.
Using Jim Carrey sort of as a throwback actor says a lot about the way this film handled itself. A lot of the soundtrack was sort of older throwback songs, maybe not so relevant today, but still quite nice in there. We saw in the various trailers, well, heard, Gangsta's Paradise and Blitzkrieg Bop. Neither one of those actually came up in the film, which to me is a bit odd, but I mean, there's nothing saying you can't use music exclusively for a trailer.
I think in terms of the soundtrack for this film, it was actually like quite good. I can't even remember like that much incidental music being
None
played.
of the songs were overly memorable or anything, but they were decent classic tunes.
And then towards the second half of the film, you had some slightly more modern songs coming in, like Where Evil Grows. And
Is Where Evil
Boom.
Grows modern? I wouldn't know.
I don't know. I mean, it sounded like it was at least more modern, like Queen or something.
The one song that was specifically made for the film, Speed Me Up, was only played during the credits, and I am very happy that it was only played during the credits. Because while it's perfectly fine as a credit song, it does not make sense in a movie about going fast to have a really slow, gentle rap about doing so.
In terms of like those game style visuals, it worked.
Oh
fine.
yeah. In terms of the video to go with that song, definitely good. Definitely worth watching. And the song isn't bad either, it just doesn't fit Sonic outside of a credit song. But they use it as a credit song, so no problems there.
But then there's like Live Life and stuff like that, which is like, and you know the piano bit from Never
Live
Turn
Life
Back.
also doesn't totally work outside of a credit song.
But as a credit song, it's fine.
Oh, as a credit song, Live Life is excellent, and Speaking Up is, perfectly.
Alright, I guess like his highlights of his career were often in the mid-90s, which was when Sonic was, you know, arguably at its peak in a cultural sense, at least, you know, like Ace Ventura, Riddler in that Batman movie, some other roles around then.
People are probably going to hate me if we don't mention The Grinch.
That came out in, what was it, 2000? I guess that's still during the period of, you know, SA1, SA2, you know, that was when, like, the Dreamcast...
Good times for Sonic,
so
good times for him.
maybe that was, like, towards the end of what people would consider the Sonic Golden Age.
Yeah. So it sort of makes sense, the two go together, and as I said, he really does work well in the movie.
I think in terms of, like, Eggman in this movie, thing number one which I liked, he felt, like, suitably psychotic, but not like annoying about it. Like,
he also didn't feel off the rails, really. He was just eccentric. He wasn't insane.
Yeah. And, like, obviously the physical acting, Jim Carrey just, like, absolutely ran away with that.
He's so wonderfully over-the-top, ridiculous, not really a realistic character, but the sort of unrealistic character that works so well for Sonic.
If you were going to bring Eggman into live action, that is not a bad stab.
No, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I sort of have a picture in my head of what live action Eggman should look like, and it's horrifying. There is no way you can translate actual in-game Eggman to a look-alike on screen in live action. So I don't feel like what we got actually was Eggman, but it was a great character for a Sonic villain.
So yeah, absolutely no complaints about Eggman in this film. And we'll have more stuff to say about Eggman when we get into the lore side of the review. So shall we talk a bit about spoilers? If you have not watched the film, maybe we can put like a timestamp in for you to go over the bit where we are talking about this bit.
I'll put up big numbers so you can see where to skip to.
But so yeah, Eggman ends up in the Mushroom Hill world, which is like a universe with lots of different planets, and he ends up on this one.
Within this universe, Mushroom Hill Zone is its own planet, which is inhabited by absolutely nothing but mushrooms, moss, and rocks. And he then ends up here, completely isolated from everyone else, and is convinced that he's still sane, but it's pretty obvious that he's not.
Still sane? Like, implying that previously...
Well, I feel like he kind of was. He was massively eccentric, but I don't feel like he was fully insane before. Whereas, if they do a sequel, and they're definitely planning a sequel, he's not going to be in the slightest.
So, spoiler number 2, the mid-credits scene, and Tails, who I think is modelled, like, for a realistic CGI Tails, I think looked amazing.
So, in the very start of the film, we saw Sonic among what appears to have been the world of the Flickies, with the surprisingly large Flicky owl who appears to have raised him. And at that point in the film, it's a much younger model of Sonic, and the Tails we see during the mid-credits reminds me of that quite heavily. It's a very young Tails, he's got a lot of fluff on him, he looks good, but he also looks a little bit like a soft toy, rather than like an actual living creature. At least to me.
I'm not sure if I would agree that, like, the Tails there is particularly young. I mean, In canon, Tails is young. Anyway,
Maybe that just doesn't come across as much in the games. But yeah, he is about 9, 10.
I think maybe Sonic Adventure 1 made his proportions a little bit less like head heavy, so maybe he looks like a little bit older. I think his proportions were like pretty similar to how he was in the classic days.
Bearing in mind how much younger he is than Sonic in canon, yeah, maybe they're just going with that. But he comes in search of Sonic. We don't know why he's searching for Sonic, but that looks to be where the sequel is heading. We've got Eggman coming back, supposedly for Christmas. Bit early for a sequel. We'll see how that pans out. And we've got Tails coming along to find Sonic. They're clearly going to meet at some point. And my expectation is that at one point we see Eggman flip a whole load of switches in his machine. And above is a switch marked Badniks, which he never flicks. The Badniks, canonically, are powered by the Flickies, using them as living batteries. So my theory is that en route back to Earth, he finds the Flickies' home world and creates the Badniks, and Tails comes in search of Sonic to try and save them.
I have to say, when Colin said this to me, I think this is actually a really good theory.
I have no idea if that's actually where they're going to go with it, but that's where I would take the sequel at this point.
If I was writing the sequel, I would have like more on the other worlds. I'm not sure if there's like much more that you can do with just Green Hills, Montana. You've set up that it can be, like many different worlds, like probably one world for each like zone in the original games. So if there's going to be a sequel, take me to those worlds and show me a bit more about Sonic's original world.
Yeah.
Because even saw like what seemed to be the Echidna at the very start
Yeah, at
of
the
film.
very start we saw the Echidna tribe, and they looked to be from around the same era as the flashbacks in Sonic Adventure 1, which means theoretically this origin story for Sonic is set way before even Knuckles exists, so how they're going to work that, I don't exactly know. I don't think the timeline's going to match up properly with previously established canon.
They were actually kind of the opposite of like Sonic Adventure 1 because, they were still alive, and I think they had like a more advanced society or more advanced technology than a lot of the rest of Mobius.
I don't know if we know. I mean, you say Mobius. Do we even have Mobius in this?
I think you said Green Hill Zone, but it was just like, on an island. But
Sonic lives in the island of Green Hill Zone in this.
I think Sega has a policy that they do not refer to Sonic's world as Mobius anymore.
Well, in all the spin-off games, it's just Sonic's world now.
In the comics, at least, I know that they're definitely, I mean, the writers have stated this, there is like a edict from Sega, it is just Sonic's world, you cannot call it Mobius.
You can't acknowledge the fact that it's also Earth, either.
Why was it even an island?
Well, presumably because you had to get the various beach locations from some of the games in. And Sonic Advance starts on a beach.
The first level of Sonic Adventure 1 is a little bit similar.
Yeah.
I still don't 100% get why it's just like on an island. It would have been better for that really nice rendering of Green Hill in Sonic Generations. That was probably the best it's ever looked.
I liked the sandworms.
Now that we've talked about the spoilers, how about we go into a deep dive into the Sonic lore of this movie? So thing number one, Sonic's design. And
one of the things you brought up there earlier, which was quite a shock to me, Sonic has 2 colours of fur. He does not have an exposed stomach or anything. He just has pink skin tone fur on his stomach. That's weird.
It's not impossible for an animal to have differently coloured.
It's absolutely not. That definitely happens. But it's just odd to have what has always looked like skin be fur.
I mean,
we only ever saw him drop blue quills as well. We never saw him drop a pink one.
I guess the blue ones are just more iconic.
Yeah, but also the blue ones are longer and more likely to be catching on things.
But in terms of Sonic's design, which is a topic which we Sonic fans love going on about way too much. So his fur is fur in this one. So I guess most people probably would think it is, but I mean it's not just skin. It's definitely
it's fur that seamlessly blends into quills.
As Corin just said, his mouth bit and his torso and I think his arms were just like blue in this, right?
Think so.
Yeah, so it's not like even like his arms are, the peach coloured. There's like no part of him which isn't fur, and his eyes are more like the classic design, I think, because they don't meet in the middle.
I always kind of liked how they met in the middle. It's a very dynamic, almost angry but not quite look. It just sort of goes with the cocky vibe that he gives off. But then again, it's a different Sonic in this. He's a younger, less aware of his abilities Sonic, in a way. So maybe it makes sense not to go with that vibe for him. I mentioned earlier that the design they gave him for this looks very young for Sonic and implies that this is a more childish film, and perhaps it is more aimed at young audiences in some ways, but at the same time it really fits the personality they've given him in this. By the end of the movie I definitely didn't mind at all that they'd gone for the younger design.
I'm not sure if I feel like Sonic is particularly young in this. Maybe it's just like his voice, but I'd say it does feel a little bit more mature than the other versions, but your mileage may vary. Another thing in terms of his design, the colour on his feet seemed to be like both peach coloured and blue.
Yeah, I think what that was that he has the same sort of metatarsal pads, they're known as. The pads in between the toes and sort of on the heel or whatever of the foot as other animals like, say, cats.
Meow?
I don't think they're quite hardened skin pads, but they're similar to that. I'm not totally sure what they're for, but I think it's to protect sort of certain pressure points on the feet, keep the sensitivity there, but I don't know, I'm not a vet.
Next topic of Sonic lore is Eggman's backstory in this one. We do get a bit of a hint about it, which is that Eggman grew up in an orphanage.
Did we hear that he grew up in an orphanage, or just that he was an orphan?
Yeah, I think he just said orphan.
So we know he's an orphan, we know he was bullied once in school and decided to completely ruin somebody with technology.
He presumably went to a normal-ish school.
It seems that way, but we know that even from a young age he was far from normal.
I'm trying to think about how it was handled in SatAM and the Archie series. I think you know about Fleetway. Can you tell me?
I know about what is supposedly the original backstory to him. It never actually made it into the games, so I'm not sure how relevant that is.
In SatAM and Archie, I feel like he had some kind of official-ish role before he went completely off the dark end, but
in most of the games, he's just his own mad scientist thing, completely not affiliated with, usually stealing from or at war with Gun, the government military organisation. In this, Gun are never mentioned, but
it's that same kind of thing.
It's basically Gun, and he's the eccentric genius who they absolutely do not want to call in, but he's the only one who can possibly work on this case. And so they're actually quite glad to have rid of him by the end of it.
Yeah, at the end of it. So Eggman lore thing number 2. One thing I liked about this film was in terms of the Robotnik and Eggman naming. There's this big debate, like, is the better name for him Robotnik or is the better name Eggman? In Japan, I think he's always been called Eggman.
If not always, certainly since very early on and for far longer than over here.
What my idea has always been is, like, his actual name is Robotnik, but Eggman is like a nickname.
Yeah, and that's what it is in this. It's about 2/3 of the way through the movie. Sonic just out of nowhere calls him Eggman and refers to his robots as Eggbots or similar. And at that point, his robots do look very egg-like. But he does not. So when they call him Eggman, it's like, that's kind of weird. Where's he getting this insult from? And then he mentions the Eggbots, and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair. One thing that I really like towards the end of the film is Sonic comes to Earth via a ring that acts as a portal to wherever he wants to go. When he's trying to get away from Robotnik, he just teleports all over Earth across various different landmarks that presumably he's seen on TV. And every single one of them seems to be a reference to a classic or slightly more modern Sonic location. Because it starts off with him running down a building in very clear City Escape style. You've got him going to the Great Wall of China, as in Sonic Unleashed. Pretty sure that was Unleashed. You've got him going to what was clearly the hidden base. Oh, what were the more classic ones? Because I swear there were more classic ones in there.
The pyramids.
Yeah, the pyramids was hidden base, which was, again, Sonic Adventure 2, but I don't know. But yeah, there were definitely some setting references there that I really enjoyed. And was the final robot the Death Egg?
Eggman's robots in this film, like, they were definitely taking inspiration from
Yeah.
various Eggman robots and Eggman bosses
Yeah.
that there have been, but I don't think there was one which was like
I feel like
exactly like a specific Eggman.
I feel like a lot of the generic white egg ones were closer to Sonic Forces than anything else.
I haven't even played Sonic Forces.
Don't bother.
It looked a bit.
The soundtrack's good. The final form of the final boss is good. The rest of the game, you can forget it.
I thought it looked like the kind of design of stuff in Portal. Like Eggman founded Aperture Science.
Well, also, the entirety of Portal, to me, seems like it was based on modern Apple designs.
That makes
It's
sense.
that clean, futuristic, everything is a glossy white tech look.
Then again, didn't Portal come out before the first iPhone?
Maybe it did. I don't know the exact timing of these things.
Google
but,
it.
What, right now in the middle of the video?
Viewers.
Oh, viewers at home, right. Fair.
I remember the other log topic which I want to talk about. So, Eggman's sidekick, Agent Stone, he was a bit of a weird presence in this movie. Like, it didn't really have anything to do or have like any character development.
His sole reason for being there was to have Robotnik interact with him, just to show how he interacts with underlings that he actually trusts, rather than the military who he just sends away and never sees again.
Yeah, and what it reminds me of is people who've watched like Satayama or who have read Archie will know the character of Snively. He's like the main underling of Robotnik / Eggman in those series, but he's like scheming against Eggman.
Well, there's nothing with Agent Stone scheming against him.
Yeah,
here.
but that's kind of what I was slightly expecting.
Yeah.
But I, at the same time as I was thinking that, I was thinking like, no, they're not going to reference Snively.
I kind of expected Agent Stone to turn against him at some point because of the way Robotnik was treating him so badly throughout, but he always seemed to take orders perfectly, without question, and always just was there to praise Eggman.
Well, that's
there to just sort of interrupt him in the middle of his dance sequence to offer him lattes, as you see in the trailers.
Oh yeah, the dance sequence.
And just... I love how aggressively, angrily praising Robotnik is in that scene.
The dance sequence, honestly, I don't love this film. It was like, as I said, like, it is not a good film, but it is towards the top level of what it could be.
It's good for what it is. It's not a bad film at all. It's just not absolutely stunning.
It's definitely not what the potential of what a Sonic film could be.
They've done so much bad Sonic in recent years. This is good Sonic,
worst.
It's just not absolute peak Sonic.
But anyway, yeah, so as I was saying, like, those, like, 2 minutes of Jim Carrey's Eggman dancing to that, like, villain song, that's probably, like, the best 2 minutes I've seen this year. Like, you just do not watch this film 6 months from now or whatever when the video comes out. Just go on YouTube and watch that. Like, watch it, like, 20 times over, and that will be the same runtime as this film. You don't need to watch this film, just watch that, and that'll be, like, that will be
enjoyable, come on.
Okay, but then your entire, like, mental image of you know, Sonic the Hedgehog 2020 will be that.
I mean, obviously that's going to be the takeaway meme from this. Or just the guy sat in a bar at night explaining to people that he has seen Sonic. Just, he has a straight up classic meme drawing of Sonic, and he's a real person just showing this to people seriously. And nobody believes him.
I'm looking forward to Eggman memes coming out of this.
There are going to be some good memes.
As for Agent Stone, did he even appear in the film after those letters?
I think that may well have been his last appearance. That was a fair way into the film still, but there was also like a quarter of the film or something just without him. Because he was never really a relevant character. He was never developed into anything.
It's
he
like,
was
maybe that's what the sequel.
there for Robotnik to bounce off of.
But then I guess at the very end of the film when Eggman was on the Mushroom World, like, I think it showed like he did appreciate Agent Stone.
Despite how badly he treated Agent Stone all throughout, and how he made Agent Stone pin himself against a wall to then shout in his face and tell him how worthless he was, that even after all that, when he's on the Mushroom Planet alone, he has recreated Agent Stone's face
Out of a
out of a
stone.
rock and is talking to it as though he still has this assistant. And it's just, yeah, he could be talking to the rock, but
Yeah.
no, it's Agent Stone, and it just, that's how much he means to him. There is clearly something there.
Well, before we wrap up this already very overly long review, is there any other anything else before we finish?
No, I think I'll do. It was a fun film. There were some genuine laugh out loud moments. Not a stunning number of them, but you know, some of the other jokes were quite fun as well. And yeah, it's no masterpiece, but it's not a bad movie at all. And it's worth watching.
If you are not a Sonic fan, then I don't think it's really worth going to see this unless you have, I don't know, like a kid.
Yeah, it's either a see it with your kids film or you're a major Sonic fan film. You're probably not going to enjoy it otherwise, unless maybe you're a big fan of Jim Carrey. Because this is definitely one of his stunning roles.
If you are a Sonic fan, then I don't think you're going to be like betrayed by this film. Like,
oh no, absolutely not. Not unless you're a die-hard everything must match the Sonic canon fan. Because this does not match
canon?
previously established canon. I mean, there's a few different ones. There's the comic one, there's the Adventures one. I don't know if there's an old school one that doesn't match with, but basically, yeah, this doesn't match any previously established Sonic canon, but if you don't mind that, if you're not that sort of vehement die-hard fan,
then you can have a
enjoy
decent time, yeah. And I mean, I'm open to a sequel. Like as I said earlier, you know, if they're bringing Tails, like
coming in December.
if they bring in, you know, maybe like another character or two from the original universe. And
they're definitely bringing Tails for the sequel. I'd be very surprised if they're not bringing Robotnik back. And I'm guessing Knuckles is the other one they'll bring in. Just because we've seen the echidnas already, and also, yeah, he was introduced originally the same time as Tails, or thereabouts.
Well, Tails was introduced in Game 2.
Knuckles was introduced in what was supposed to be part of Game 2, but eventually became Game 3, and then an expansion for Game 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, around the same time. That's how I'm thinking this is going to go, but who knows who they'll introduce.
And well, on that note...
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the sequel.
I'm maybe not looking forward to it if it indeed will happen, but I'll probably watch it, and if there is a sequel, then we will be back.
Yeah, and I think that's all for today. I'll get this video out as soon as possible, and we'll do a nice introduction of Megan here after this. Normally I'd put it up first, but you know, the review's more immediately necessary to get out. Got to review fast.
Well, signing off, I've been Megan.
And I'm Corin Spicefreak Sloss. And links to anything relevant in the description down below, including my blog. Bye.